What is the political fallout of the standoff between the teachers union and the city? The race for the 1st Congressional District heats up after Bobby Rush announces he's stepping down, and Congressman Adam Kinzinger decides his future on the eve of the January 6th Capitol riot anniversary. Here with all that and more are Amanda Vinicky, Heather Sharon, and Paris Schutz. Welcome back, team. So, the Chicago Teachers Union voted to skip in-person learning today, and we know that it will happen again tomorrow, as we heard earlier. Mayor Lightfoot held a press conference this evening. Here's a bit more of what she had to say.
We will not relent. Enough is enough. We are standing firm, and we are going to fight to get our kids back in in-person learning. Period. Full stop. We owe that to our children who suffered learning losses. I need you to report about the fact that 100,000 children were disconnected and disengaged when we were fully remote. 100,000, mostly black and brown and poor kids.
So Heather, let's start with you then. What is the political fallout for the mayor with this standoff?
Well, it could be severe. There are more than 300,000 students who have not been in school today and will not be in school tomorrow. And it's not clear when they will return to school, whether in person or remote. And this is really because both sides, both the mayor and the Chicago Teachers Union, agree that we're at a moment of crisis in the COVID-19 pandemic, but they disagree on about how to approach that. And the mayor, as you just heard, wants kids in schools, while the union is concerned that students will get COVID, get sick, and some of them will get seriously ill and die, not to mention teachers and staff as well. The mayor, however, is under pressure from national politicians, Republicans, to get the schools back open again. And it really goes to the heart of her sort of pitch to voters that she is a competent executive and that she can keep the city functioning, which can't happen with that many kids out of school for, at this point, an indeterminate amount of time.
Tough to make that case, yeah. And we also know the union's vice president, Stacey Davis Gates, she's quoted in another news outlet saying, quote, "We're between a rock and a hard place, the rock being the pandemic, the hard place being an intractable, incompetent mayor." Heather, this is getting nasty. Is this the worst that we've seen it? Making it even harder to get an agreement.
Yes, there is no doubt that there is no love lost between Mayor Lori Lightfoot and Stacey Davis Gates and other union leaders. They have been at odds since day one, hour one, minute one of the Lightfoot administration. And because this is such a big crisis in COVID-19, it is making it worse because there is a distinct lack of trust on both sides. We heard the mayor say just a few minutes ago that she doesn't trust the CTU to only go remote for a couple of weeks until January 18th, which is what they've proposed. And the union does not trust Lightfoot or her staff to put restrictions or new rules in place to keep kids and staff safe from getting COVID-19. That makes it a really hard position to reach any sort of agreement, which is why there's no end in sight at this point.
And it could get even worse, by the way, because we did just hear from the mayor that she has begun pursuing legal action, filing an unfair labor practice complaint that would take this to another level. And by the way, it's not just Chicago who's got their eyes on this. You're getting particularly some of the Republican candidates for Illinois governor and those in other races outside of the city following this and saying, painting this as a political issue, particularly against Democrats, as saying, hey, look at what happens when a city is run all by Democrats, wresting control from parents, get your schools under control.
Paris, despite all of these ongoing challenges that the mayor faces with the CTU, the pandemic, the city's violence, any question that Lightfoot will run again?
It doesn't seem like it, Brandis. She's barnstormed the country raising money, all but saying she is running again. She hasn't officially said that. So as difficult as these challenges are, I would be surprised if she came out and said she didn't want to run again. And I would echo Heather's comments that yes, there are teachers that are very, very concerned and frustrated with the COVID mitigations from CPS, but so much of this from CTU and from the mayor is political. The CTU has been against Lori Lightfoot from the beginning. The 2019 strike, the work stoppages last year, a lot of it's political, a lot of it parallels the way these things go. Their candidate for mayor was Tony Preckwinkle. Now, Lori Lightfoot, in those comments, the mayor, I sense politics in those comments. She's trying to get Chicagoans, she wants to be reelected, trying to get Chicagoans to see her as someone who is standing up and banking on the fact that public opinion, if this is the case, public opinion falls on the side of wanting kids in class. But then let's toss that aside and just acknowledge the frustration for families right now, finding out at 11 o'clock last night, and who this hurts the most: low-income students, as the mayor said, black and brown students. By the way, CPS lost track of a lot of those students last year. This is really, really devastating for families, and it underscores the fact that I don't know if they can do this, but politics does need to be put aside, and they need to find some kind of resolution.
Yeah, it's pretty ugly and frustrating for a lot of parents. Moving on to Congressman Bobby Rush's announcement that he will leave the House next year, set off a scramble to replace him. Here's what he said yesterday.
I am not retiring, I am returning.
Amanda, why now for Congressman Rush after, 30 years, 23 other House Democrats walking away?
Well, I think a lot of people during the pandemic have really reassessed their priorities, what matters in life. And he has said that it simply comes down to, no, not the rhetoric in Washington and the partisan divides, but it comes down to wanting to spend time with his grandkids and wanting them to know who he is from something beyond a TV screen. So sometimes it really is just as simple as that. And of course, Rush, as he noted, returning, he also is going to be leading religious services, taking a bigger role in his church. He's got roots as a Black Panther and a barnstormer, so he's not one for settling down, even if it's not going to be in Congress.
Paris, we know that Alderperson Pat Dowell changing lanes from running for Secretary of State to running to replace Rush in the 1st Congressional District. Does this make sense? Just after, because she was not slated by the party for Secretary of State.
Yeah, and Dowell's been a committee person. She's been very active in the Democratic Party. She felt that it was a slight against her that the Democratic Party endorsed Alexi Janulius for Secretary of State. So she decided to pivot and run for this seat. She's a veteran at this point in politics, but you're going to see a lot of folks declare for that seat. This is going to be wide open, and a lot of folks with a lot of experience possibly. You already have the community activist Jamal Cole jumping in, possibly people like Senator Robert Peters, Senator Jacqueline Collins, and a whole litany of folks. And it'll be interesting to see who Rush endorses and who the party endorses here.
Heather, any thoughts on or any expectations on who he might endorse in the race to replace him?
Well, he really has the possibility to be a kingmaker in this race because he is beloved in the district, because Amanda talked about that 30 years of history. There is reports tonight that he will endorse Karen Norrington Reeves, who is the executive director of the Chicago Cook Workforce operation, and they have been really involved in responding to the COVID-19 pandemic and running contact tracing and job training. So she's very active in the community. That will have a big impact. And it sets up what promises to be a hard-fought race for a congressional seat on the south side of Chicago that does not come open very often, which makes it a prized political plum. I will note that it is somewhat interesting that we now have 2 sitting members of the Chicago City Council running for Congress, along with Alderman Dowell. Alderman Gilbert Villegas wants to be the congressperson in a newly created district on the far northwest side. So if they both win, it will by default seriously reshape the city council even before the next elections in 2023. Because of course, this race is a freebie for them because they're not up for re-election for another year after this race, which could give Mayor Lightfoot a chance to appoint some perhaps friendly faces on the city council.
So Congressman Adam Kinzinger, he has announced that he will not run for governor or senator. Paris, he says that he wants to right the GOP instead with his Country First group. Do you believe that he's got loftier plans running for president, maybe?
Well, if you talk to folks in Illinois Republican circles, folks close to Adam Kinzinger, they do believe that he has loftier plans to possibly run for president. His stated goal right now is to move the Republican Party away from Donald Trump, to move it away from extremism. He is adamantly opposed to the extremism that's overtaken the party. Representatives like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Matt Gaetz. He wants to do away and take the party in a new direction. This Country First will be a PAC that raises money and supports candidates in his mold, and perhaps he'll have a platform to run and challenge possibly former President Donald Trump in a primary in a couple of years. But it's clear that he's not going to run for governor or senator because he doesn't believe accomplishing this overarching goal with the Republican Party in the country, by the way. It won't be accomplished with running for those offices.
Congressman Rodney Davis will be facing off against Trump-backed Representative Mary Miller downstate. Amanda, is the mud already flying in that race? And does having Trump's endorsement, does it really give Mary Miller the edge?
Oh, the mud is most seriously flying. Yes, Brandes. I mean, you know, this is a district that is drawn to benefit a Republican. Ostensibly, the thought was, well, yeah, that's a seat drawn for Rodney Davis, keep him potentially out of the race for governor. He was seen as somebody who might have a chance at really taking on Pritzker. But this is something that happens as we talk about redistricting, another sort of synonym for it, gerrymandering. And as you draw districts that are drawn really to favor one party or the other, they tend to be ones that don't elect a moderate and instead would get somebody on either spectrum of or on either side of the political spectrum. And so, yes, I do think that this puts Rodney Davis, that's why you're seeing the mud being flown around. He has sort of the establishment behind him, but Miller has Donald Trump. And this is a new district. It is hard to tell where people are going to go. She lives outside of it. And so it's part of a familiarity thing, but it is one that is going to be watched closely, not just in Illinois, but nationally.
So let's jump down to some state politics before we let you all go. The General Assembly shortened the already short Springfield session. Amanda, back to you. First order of business was a vote to allow virtual voting again.
Yeah, because I think the expectation was, but everything will be normal in 2022. Don't have to do this again. Lo and behold, of course, here, unfortunately, terribly, we all are again. And so now that has been extended once again through June to allow remote voting. And by the way, things got off to a really slow start in Springfield because there were, in part, so few legislators there, because it is believed at least some had COVID concerns, quarantined, or had COVID themselves, and also a sort of protest because, again, redistricting rears that head yet again as Republicans really trying to protest what Democrats are doing in reshaping judicial districts. But remote voting is allowed, and so they might not have these quorum issues that delayed things today in the future.
Okay, I'm sure you'll keep us posted on it. A lot to talk about, as always. But until next week, to our Spotlight Politics team, Amanda Venicky, Heather Sharon, and Paris Schutz.